Hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host Owen, guys, coming all the way from a rainy, dark, wet Midlands of England, where I'm joined on the other side of the Atlantic, where I'm sure it's a lot nicer, by my co-host Victoria. Victoria, how are you this evening?
I am good. It's not too bad here today. I think I didn't even ask Google what the temperature is today, but I think it's maybe about 15 degrees here. About to be a lot nicer because I'm going to Florida tomorrow. So I'll try and send some of that sunshine over in the mail for you. And
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah,
good.
Victoria's off to Florida tomorrow, and I'm off to work tomorrow. So that's just great.
Aw.
So yeah, we've got a few people in the live chat joining us. We have a comment that Victoria and I still can't figure out, but apparently I don't know if that's getting at me or who that's getting at, but there we go.
Maybe
Any
someone else can explain it.
answers on a postcard, as they used to say? Joined by Nicholas, our good buddy Nicholas, saying good evening, everyone from the South Wales Loyal. We've also got David as well in the live chat. Hello, people. And we've got Charlotte S94 joining us as well. Blue Nose John. Good evening, Owen, Victoria, and all the teddy bears in the chat. And obviously as well, Scott05 saying good evening, and people saying obviously good evening to each other as well. Well, tonight we're going to look back at the game over the weekend and talk about a couple of the players, performances, and we're going to have a little look ahead to a small matter of the final Old Firm game on Saturday at 12:30 over here in the UK, which will be very early for you over there. What time will that be over there for you, Victoria?
So the Old Firm, I think it's going to be about a 7:30 a.m. kickoff. I'm going to be heading down to the Orlando Rangers Supporters Club for that one, which is really great. They have a fantastic supporters club down there. So even though it's early, the fact that it'll be nice and warm is going to kind of help out with that a little bit. So it should be good. It should be a good game. I'm hoping the Rangers are going to win it. If they've been playing like they have at the past Old Firms, really putting on the pressure, understanding that this is an important win for us, I really don't see how we can lose, even if it's 1-0. That's all I'm asking. 1-0. Nothing else. As long as we win.
And I think a lot of us forget that, don't we? About obviously our fans across the water and the fans all around the world watching the games, and how for us 12:30, 3 o'clock is just like a nice time over here, obviously on the British Isles.
Yeah.
But when we think of our friends and fellow supporters across the Atlantic and all over the world, they do watch at some odd and funny times, don't they? And I know from following American sports, you do have to watch things at odd times.
Exactly. Just like Gary that we had on the other day, Gary, the president of NARSA, he's all the way out in Calgary, so he's actually earlier than that. I want to say maybe he's at like 5:30 in the morning. But
Wow.
then again, it comes down to that dedication. If you love your team, you're going to get up for it, especially when it comes down to games like this.
I think there's one question we all want to know, though, Victoria. It's 7:30 in the
Which
morning,
one?
right? You're watching an Old
Yes.
Firm game, right?
Yeah.
Is the beer flowing in the supporters club even at 7:30 in the morning?
It depends what supporters clubs you go to and if people keep their mouth shut or not. Because there's a whole legality thing behind it. But you never know. It all depends where you go. I'll let you know what happens at the Orlando one. I doubt it, but I'll let you know.
We know how. Well, I know how funny the Americans are about alcohol. Nicholas Moore says it's a must-win game on Saturday, and players need to play for the badge and show some guts. 100% agree with you, Nicholas. And Scott has a question for you, Victoria.
Did you enjoy seeing Hadji play yesterday? I did, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up. I'm happy that they actually gave him some time because they've been using him in such like little quantities, like little 10 minutes here, a little 15 there or something. But to actually give the guy a chance, because obviously we know that we didn't win the season. So give these opportunities to people who haven't had a lot of time on the pitch, whether it's due to injury or something like that, and let them get that exercise, let them get that fire in them and show us what they're going to be like for next season. So yes, I was very happy to see him. Thanks so much for asking, Scott.
And you don't, and Victoria's taken this approach to that one, I think.
Definitely. You know what? I think Hadji will be with us hopefully next season. I've been reading the comments and stuff like that, and I know we're going to talk about a couple things that Beal has said a little bit later, but I do think that Hadji will be sticking around for next season. I don't see him leaving, especially with some comments that he's made. I think he's
Absolutely.
going to be with us, and I hope that he is, because I think he really deserves it.
Absolutely.
How do you feel
Absolutely.
about that, Owen?
Yeah, I think, with obviously the departures that look like they're going to be, going on, the fact that, Beale said there's only 2 players he's offered new contracts to, which apparently, allegedly, I've heard is Arfield and Jack. That's who he's offered the contracts to, and nobody else. With the likelihood of Kent going out, with the likelihood, obviously, of all the departures that are going to go on, I think there is a strong likelihood that Hadji will remain at the club. I think there really is a chance that that we'll want us to try and get a little bit more out of him next season, and maybe even, I don't know, give him a season. His value may even increase a little bit more. I mean, he's contracted to 2025. So, the fact that obviously Celta, Galatasaray are only offering 3 million at the moment, whereas a lot of people are saying that a true value of Hadji is between 5 and 7 million. Hopefully, I think if it is a case that we do fully follow this trading model, that if he gets a good season next season, we can then sell him on for 5 to 7 million to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I see that. Loving the Helicopter Sunday strip. We need more title wins like that. We definitely do. I decided I'm usually using strips that are for nowadays for this season, but I was in my wardrobe and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to pull out one of the older ones. And of course, this is the one. And we'll all remember Helicopter Sunday from that fantastic goal that was scored by Nacho Novo. Did you catch that one, Owen?
I did, yeah. Do you know what? I was actually rewatching that video the other day, actually, rather weirdly.
Were you?
Yeah.
Small world.
Jim Sloan says, follow, lads. Sunny says, obviously we had that comment.
We did.
David says, I'm not saying sell him, just my opinion, lol. Don't worry, David. She doesn't take it personally.
No, I don't. I hope he doesn't go, but hopefully he'll, like Nicholas is saying there, I hope we'll keep Hadji, and hopefully next season he'll show his quality. And 100%, I really truly think he will. He's obviously hungry to get back on the pitch, hungry probably to prove to his father the great player that he can be. As we know, his father made a comment recently about, I think he said, didn't he say like he was one of the best players for Rangers? And of course, I think that was his father looking at him kind of like a father looks at a son. You're obviously going to think, mine is the best. Like, even I don't play for Rangers, but my dad would probably say, she's the best. Just like my grandpa would. It's a pride that you have and a support that you have for your children. So I think that's what he was talking about there. And hopefully we'll get to see his progression throughout next season, and a couple goals scored, season win. Who knows what's going to happen?
Absolutely, yeah. So, let's obviously touch on yesterday's game, Victoria. I know we were both watching it in different locations, obviously. But what was your overall impression of the game yesterday?
So I thought the game was okay. I'm glad that we won it. But you know what? There was a couple of goals, again, like past games, where the net is there. It's huge, but we keep hitting the crossbar or hitting the side or just missing. And these are mistakes that we definitely cannot be making. I don't know if we need to have a little bit of target practice, but yeah, these are things we shouldn't be missing. But other than that, it was a decent enough game. I'm glad that we won. I think the last time I looked at the possession, I think it was 77% for Rangers, which is great. But if you're 77% for Rangers, I don't know what the final one was, but don't you think you should be scoring if that's the percentage that you're getting and not missing as much?
Yeah.
What do you think, Owen?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this was the final stats from yesterday. 71% in the end, 29. Nearly 3 times more passes, 7 shots on target to 4 shots on target, and only 1 goal scored. I know that's something Michael Beale has identified as been a problem, that we aren't clinical enough in front of goal. We don't take our chances enough. And that's something they really need to address. I thought one of the things they suffered from yesterday, Victoria, was the fact that we didn't have any focal point up front. There was nobody up front to push the ball into. There was nobody running in behind. There was nobody to hit in that kind of traditional number 9 role, was there?
No, exactly. It was kind of a little bit scattered. Is that the right word I could use for it?
Yeah.
But I will say Mccrorie done a fantastic job. I was very, very surprised. I've been a little hesitant with him. just because obviously who he has to live up to, one of the best goalies for Rangers. So I was a little bit hesitant thinking, oh, he's a younger boy. He might not do as well, but he proved himself. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do for us. What did you think of him?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the people I wanted to touch on. I thought that he was
Mhm.
absolutely excellent yesterday. I mean, the things that he
Yeah.
did yesterday was all the things that McGregor hasn't done. And look, I'm a massive fan of Alan McGregor. McGregor's been fantastic. He's been a great goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Been probably the second best in Rangers history behind Andy Gorham. But the problem I think with McGregor now is it's a season too far for him. I mean, Mccrorie came for crosses.
Yeah.
He commanded his area. He made, the save from Duke when he moved across, made himself big, came off his line.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think McGregor would have done that. To me, he just looked like everything we've kind of been missing this season from a keeper. I think he gave the back four more confidence, knowing he was back there, and he did a fantastic. Don't get me wrong, he was fantastic yesterday. I thought he was absolutely superb, and for me, I really hope that Beale plays him for the last 4 games. You know what, Victoria? I don't want to see McGregor in goal against Celtic. I want to see.
Yep. I kind of agree with you. I was thinking about that the other day, but I'm a little nervous because this whole Old Firm thing is such a huge deal. I hope if he plays the same, if he is in goal the same way that he was for the past game that we had, I hope he shows up the same way for the Old Firm. And if he does a great job, if he does go in goals for that, that is going to be a huge proving point for next season, especially if he managed to save every goal that Celtic tries to put in the net.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the last time he did play against Celtic, he kept a clean sheet. He is quality. Got a comment from Paul McGarrigle on McGregor. Says, Owen, do you think McGregor would have retired last season if we'd got Butland before he broke his finger? Maybe. The whole Butland thing is a little bit up in the air at the moment. I'm not going to talk about that on this video. That's another topic from the day. But if you do want to know about that, I did release a video earlier, so go and check that out after this podcast. Definitely. Victoria, one person whose name is coming up a lot in the live chat is Fashion Sakala.
Yes.
What do you make of Fashion Sakala?
Honest opinion, I like the guy. I liked him from the moment that I saw his first interview before he came into Rangers. I know there's a lot of controversy with him, especially with a couple of the goals that he could have got recently that he didn't get. I don't know, maybe his head wasn't in the game. That's just what I'm going to blame it on. But I do like the guy. Maybe he needs a little bit more precision training, but I think his mindset is there. He just might need to be finely tuned, if that's the nice way to say it. And during the break time, you have a chance to do that. But I like him. I'd keep him around. I know it's a very kind of biased opinion, but I feel people, especially the fans, are 50-50 when it comes to fashion. Because I've seen people absolutely love him, seen people love him at the start, especially myself. But that's progressed a little bit less now. And like we were talking about earlier, just before the podcast, players can't always play at 100%. Yeah, that's what they're expected to do. But you can't expect players to come on every single game and score every single goal. The only people I expect to do that is Ronaldo and Messi. Other than that, I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, looking in the live chat, there's a lot of anti-Sakala comments. I mean, this
I know. I was expecting that.
This is quite funny. Sakala is likable character, but he's deadly as a water gun up front.
I like that comment. That's actually pretty funny. And you're all right. He is extremely likable. And I think that's the part that I actually like about him. But he needs, like that fine tuning thing I spoke about, that's what he needs. Whether he's going to be given the opportunity to do that or not, we'll see what's happening.
Yeah,
this person says Sakala is playing at 100%. That's the worrying thing. If he's playing at 100%, replace him. 100. I agree with you there. But I have a feeling there's a little fine tuning needs to be done, and hopefully he can prove himself. If not, then this isn't the team for you.
Yeah, I mean, Paul McGarrigle agrees with you. He's our best striker ever, missed chances. look, I'm actually going to disagree with you, Victoria. I personally, I do not rate Sakala in the slightest. He just lacks composure. If he has time to think, he goes to pieces. I mean, I actually found the joke. CJ Novo made a really funny joke on Twitter yesterday. CJ Novo is one of the biggest Rangers YouTubers. Said that if Fashion Sakala had shot Tupac will be turning 52 this year. I mean, that pretty much sums up Sakala.
Because he misses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting subject when it comes to fashion, Sakala.
there is a great deal of comments in here. There's a lot of people who Scott 05 says Scar's a headless chicken, no football intelligence. We had that comment. He's absolutely no composure. He'll miss 10 times more than he scores. CGM is right. Like I say, he is, I think, like a lot of Rangers players, one of those who divides opinion hugely.
Yeah.
There just seems to be, I don't know, Victoria, but at the moment there just seems to be so many players in the team and that just do divide opinion, don't they? You've got Lundstrom, Davis, Goldson, Tav, Raskin to some extent is getting like that a little bit at the moment. I don't know. There does seem to be, doesn't there, an awful lot of division over the players at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. Maybe they should all take some advice from Cantwell, and Cantwell can help them score some goals like he did at 64 minutes.
Yeah.
Super precise, right in the net. That's exactly what we need. So maybe he can teach them. But then watch these people come on the pitch and do really well, like at the start of next season. Let's say Fashion's on there, and all of a sudden he turns and he's scoring. Everyone's going to say, I love him. He's doing so good. I knew he would do great.
Yeah.
So it kind of flips every now and again, depending on how well the players do.
I mean, I think it's quite telling. I think as Richard Goff, that comment about Rangers players, he says, "You're not as a Rangers player, you're not as fondly remembered as your last game. It's actually your last pass that the fans remember, not your last game." So hypercritical
100%.
of our players.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe that's a good thing though, because that's what you need to progress in life. When it comes down to anything, if you're not criticized, you can't hardly improve yourself. You can't always think, oh, I'm the best at this. You have to know what you can improve on, right?
Absolutely. Now, one player at the moment who I don't know, there seems to be a groundswell of dislike for, which is difficult because you've got to kind of think about his past as well as what he's done in the last 12 to 18 months is obviously Alfredo Morelos. Now, this was the quote, Victoria, that Michael Beale gave after the game. So I've pulled this up on a slide here. He said, Morelos is moving on. I think you saw the difference in energy in the forward area when Morelos came on and not in a positive way. We'll need a focal point to the team for sure. Now, Michael Beale has actually had a bit of criticism in the media today because of that comment, saying that he shouldn't have thrown Morelos under the bus like that in public. What's your take on that, Victoria?
Personally, I think it was highly unprofessional. I don't think comments like that should be made. And if you feel that way, talk to the person privately about it. But I wrote down some stats on Morelos. So appearances for Rangers, 268, goals, 124, and assists, 58. Well, why would you look at a player that scored 124 goals for Rangers? Yeah, maybe in the past games he hasn't showed up as much as he could have, but you can't beat the guy up and say that, well, from what I take there, basically say, well, wasn't that good of a player? Because to me, Morelos is a great player. And I don't know, maybe Beale needs a little bit of media training when it comes to that. I know that for myself, there's stuff that I'll give my comment on in private, one-to-one with, let's say you and I are talking. And then there's stuff that you talk about live, either on the air or on YouTube or on Twitter, making your comments that you just don't say professionally wise, especially if you have such a large platform as Beale does. To me, he should have just thanked him, said how great he did, that he wishes him luck for next season, wherever he tends to go. And then that should have been it. Do you think that he was a little bit harsh with this comment, or do you think it was kind of a good thing that he said?
Look, I mean, I'll be absolutely honest. Alfie this season hasn't been great, and I think he has kind of checked out a little bit because look, it's a natural thing. I think as much as you want a player who's leaving at the end of his contract to keep putting in the effort up until the time that he leaves, he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to risk getting injured. Because if he gets injured, he's not going to get a move. He's then probably going to have to sit out next year, which means the year after it's going to be even harder for him to get a deal somewhere. I know it sounds a bit like I'm making excuses for him, but you've kind of got to. I agree that Beale shouldn't have said that in public. If that's how he feels, that's fine. Yeah. And you know, you look at a lot of the more experienced managers out there. You know, particularly those in the English Premier League, like Pep Guardiola, like Jurgen Klopp, like Erik ten Hag, like Eddie Howe at Newcastle. Those people, they don't publicly call out their players. They'll say one thing in front of the media, but you know full well that behind closed doors, they are absolutely ripping into those players that have let them down. And you know, and taking them to task. Now, I think if Beale was really that unhappy with Morelos, then he should be doing that behind closed doors and not in front of the media. And I agree with you. I think Beale does need a little bit of media training. I think at times he contradicts himself. He says one thing one day, and then 2 or 3 days later he'll say a completely different thing. I mean, witness the comment over Alfie after the was it the Wraith game where he was saying, "Oh, Alfie hasn't contributed much. He needs to work harder, etc., etc." And then 2 days later, "Oh, Alfie, I've got no problem with him," you know, etc., etc. So it's one of those.
Little contradicting.
You need to be careful.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. There's certain things that should be said and certain things that shouldn't be said, and I'm going to stick with my guns there. That is something that should definitely be avoided. Like you said, behind closed doors, it's different. But when you're saying something in public, especially when someone is going to be leaving, at least show a little bit of respect, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, CGM says here, I didn't notice any difference in Morelos on Sunday from the rest of the season. Brian Emerson says, why Beale's no said the same about Kent. True. I suppose Kent has been actually probably worse this season. David says, Alfie hasn't kicked the ball all season. Wish him well, but he wanted away for the past 3 seasons. So you get what you get. Doesn't want to be here. But Beale was spot on, in my opinion. Morelos has 124 goals in something like 260 games, 40 odd assists. He's also missed 3 million chances and been sent off 453 times. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, CGM, now, and how many times he's been sent off. Kind of agree with Beale. This season, Morelos has looked more threatening to a buffet line than a goal line. Love the guy. He more than exceeded the 1 million we spent on him. There's a lot of anti-Alfie comments coming. Alfie is a waste of space. He has been for a while. Alfie only cares about one thing, and that's himself. But I think, Nicholas, that's true of all footballers, if I'm being honest with you. In this day and age, was he wrong to criticise him? Absolutely not. I think he waited till the end when he had nothing left to play for. Beale likes to talk perhaps a little too much. Alfie's been good this season, but has not been good this season, but neither has Kent. So there's a lot of comments, obviously anti. You know, Beale is a magic can say what he wants. However, he cannot pick. That's going to be a test, I think. You know, whether he does go back to picking Morelos again this season. You know, if we see him on Saturday, if we see him again this season, do you think we will see him again this season, Victoria?
Well, due to his recent posts that I've seen online, I don't think we will see him again this season. And to me, like, why would you say something like that about a player, put that thought process in their mind? If that was me, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to be playing for you guys anyway. Yeah, you're putting me on an Old Firm match. Well, I'm not going to show up, and I'm really not going to care that much. So what's the point? What's the point in having him on there if you're putting that thought process into his mind? Because that's going to affect the way that player plays. So to me, do I think we'll see him again? There's always a possibility. But logically speaking, I wouldn't play him because I don't think that's a smart decision. And maybe it's just best that he's happily going to move on. And I think he is happily moving on. I do agree. I've seen someone's comment at the side there that he's basically been ready to move on forward. And I remember even when it came to last season, I thought that was probably going to be it for him, as well as a lot of other people. But I think this is his time, and that's perfectly fine. I think he's ready for that as well. So hopefully no hard feelings on his behalf. But do I see him playing? Possibly not.
I mean, CGM says here, problem is we literally only have Sakala now as a striker. I think this is a great point. If a player isn't committed, they should not be in the squad, i.e. last year the contract sign or you're done here. I think that's probably right. I mean, there is some clubs down here in England where when a player comes to his last year of his contract, if they're going to keep him, they will offer him a 2-year deal. If he doesn't agree to it, they sell him, and they never get to the position where he will be into that last year of the contract. The player's got to agree and actually, you know, commit to the club. And maybe that's not just Michael Beale's fault. Maybe that's a little bit of Ross Wilson's fault for allowing not 8 players to run their contracts right down to the last year of their contract. It is bad management in a way there, I think. Definitely. So I mean that is an interesting point. You know, Beale hasn't criticised Kent openly, yet Kent, like we said, has arguably been worse than Morelos this season in the way he's played, especially in the last few games. But let's take a major positive from yesterday, Victoria. Todd Cantwell yesterday. I thought Todd Cantwell was an absolute class apart from anybody on that pitch yesterday.
100%. And that goal that he scored was so precise, so well taken, wasn't in his head as we spoke about other players before, and he just took the shot. And that's what we need. I've liked him from the very start, and I think he's going to be a great player, especially looking forward to next season. I don't know about you, Owen, but do you think he's going to be quite a large asset for us?
I think he's been absolutely fabulous. I mean, you've just got to look at how he conducts himself on the field. You've got to look at the fact that he's one of those players that runs for 90 minutes. He never gives up. He never stops. He fights all the time. And even in the 90th minute or 93rd minute, he's chasing back, trying to catch up with somebody, trying to tackle back. No look passes. His passing is fantastic. His dribbling, his effort, his goal. He's added goal scoring now. I honestly think that he is going to be a fundamental part of the team. And after a pre-season with the squad, I think he's going to be even better. He is a superb player, absolutely superb player.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree with you. It goes by the quote, you're in it to win it. And he's definitely in it to win it. From what I see so far, I think he's going to be a player that people should be watching out for. We used to say that about Morelos. We used to think, every time Morelos is going to come on, he's going to score a goal. He's going to get up in people's faces, because that's the kind of person that Morelos was like. But maybe that could be switching to Cantwell, and he could be that little player to watch out for now because of maybe his speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Got Jimmy Duff here in the live chat. The boy covered every blade of grass and scored a superb goal. The boy just gets it. Nicholas says Cantwell is the only shining light at Rangers at the moment. Great player, and I love his attitude.
Agreed, Nicholas.
JD says still blows my mind that Norwich let him go as well. Their loss, our gain. Absolutely. Cantwell is he is a different class, and I honestly reckon that come 2, 3, 4 years time, he's going to be worth a lot of money. And the other thing for me, Victoria, is the passion he shows for the club. I mean, I know we lost the semi-final, but I don't know if you saw, he was the one player who was, when ball was going out and it was near the Rangers fans, was giving it come on, trying to get the fans even more up for the game. He has got that little bit of a devil in him as well, hasn't he?
He definitely does. But I think he's going to do absolutely fantastic. And like you said, I guess the best way to say it is he's one of the people. And you can tell that when he's on the pitch. And like you said, that fire that he does have inside of him, hopefully that will keep continuing for him.
Absolutely. Now, obviously coming towards the end of the podcast, I know I've got things to do. Victoria has engagement as well that she needs to get to. Victoria, we're going obviously towards the Old Firm game next weekend on Saturday.
We are.
What sort of team do you think Beale is going to play, and what sort of team would you want him to play?
A good one. One that can get, I don't care who it is. All I'm asking, any player, get the ball in the net. Don't hit the crossbars or anything like that. Play whoever you want to play as long as you can get the ball in the net. I don't care who it is, but definitely Cantwell for sure. But anybody, who do you think is going to be maybe a goal scorer for that game? And what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, I'm hoping. I'd love to see him stick with similar players next week. Play the young players still. Use the young lads. Yeah. I mean, Davis is probably going to be out. So Suter's probably going to start in defence alongside Goldson. I think Ridvan for me needs to continue at left back. I'd actually like to see him put Divine in at right back and push Tav further up, play Tav as perhaps a winger. Tav's one of our best finishers, and I think Tav will then, it gives Tav the opportunity to score goals. Tav is our top goal scorer this season, which is quite embarrassing, really. Your right back is your top goal scorer. What do I think the score will be? I'm going to stick. I've got this feeling for 2-1. 2-1 to Rangers next. Yeah.
Oh my God, I hope you're right. If you're right, the beers will be flowing. And it's actually funny you brought up that comment just there from JD it is. Do you think that Mccrorie will be in the goals for that game? Because that obviously the Old Firm is a huge game. If Mccrorie shows up the way that he did for the past game that we just saw him in, I think he could be a contender for being in net. What do you think?
Yeah, he has to be for me. I mean, look, people say, oh, well, we need to give McGregor a chance to say goodbye, but McGregor's got his chance to say goodbye. That's on July the 18th against Newcastle at Ibrox for his testimonial. That's the time for McGregor to say goodbye. This 4 games now needs to be treated as a little bit of a pre-season, a little bit of a, let's look at what we've got. Let's look at the young players. Let's look at the players that are staying with the club and make a judgment on those players. So let's look at Mccrorie, let's look at Lowry, let's look at Divine, let's look at Robbie Ure, let's look at Robby Mccrorie, Scott Wright, etc. And let's see what we've got there. And CGM says his team, obviously, Mccrorie, Tav, Goldson, Suter, Ridvan, Raskin, Lundstrom, Cantwell, Sakala, Matondo, Wright won't be far off our team against them. CGM, I think that's probably pretty close to what we'll get on Saturday. Nicholas says we've got nothing to lose on Saturday, so let's just go for it. Mccrorie has to start again, definitely.
I hope so.
Bit of news on JD there, from Jay on Lovelace there. Every player 20 shots on goal. Only leave training if you score or make the keeper work. Simple. That's a good idea, Brian. Get yourself over to Ockenhowie tomorrow.
That's it.
Victoria, what's your prediction for Saturday?
So I hope you're right. I think you might be right, but I'm going to go with 2-0 only because I don't want to see them score. I want to see them walk away from that being like, oh my God, like this Rangers team that they just put on, we might have a problem next season. That's all that I'm asking. Guess we'll see what happens. All I'm saying is don't lose. Even if it's 1-0, please don't lose.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to lose another one. 2-0 to the famous, says Paul McGarrigle. I'd settle for that as well, Paul. Like Victoria says, 2-0. Well, Victoria, let's obviously hope for positive things next Saturday at Ibrox for the final Old Firm game. I hope you enjoyed the game down in Orlando. I hope it's nice and sunny and hot, whilst it's probably raining here in the UK. What are your final thoughts, Victoria, for people to take away?
Well, I don't know. Let's leave it as a quote. As Marvin Andrews says, keep believing. And that's what we need to keep doing. We need to hope for the best for next season. We can't be focusing on the past. We need to improve from what we did. And I'm excited because, like I said, I'm going to be going away down to Orlando Rangers Supporters Club to watch that game, which is really nice. But during that week, obviously, I won't be on the podcast. But when I come back, and I wrote it down so I didn't forget, on May the 17th, we're going to mark our calendars because at 2:30 p.m., we're going to have a gentleman called John on. Now, John is the vice president of Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club, who is the host club of the NARSA event that's coming on. So obviously we had Gary on recently, and NARSA is the bigger picture. And then every year they have a host club. So this year's host club is the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club. So we're going to have John on. We're going to be talking a little bit about that and looking up forward to the up and coming convention, which will be great. Hopefully Owen will get a chance to come across to it one year. It's going to be in New York City the year after. So who knows?
Sounds good. New York City sounds good to me, Victoria. But yeah, it'd be good to have John on to talk about the NARSA and obviously talk about Rangers as well, and no doubt get his views on the Old Firm game as well, that final Old Firm game, and obviously the huge season upcoming. Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for joining me tonight. Thank you to everybody in the live chat. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, having you all on board. Trying to quickly flick through your comments now. Guys, keep your eyes peeled, obviously, for Glasgow Rangers Nation. Daily news, daily updates, your team every single day. We are so close to that magic 1K mark now. I think we're somewhere like 35, 34 away. So if anyone has a sub yet, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell. And guys, tell your Rangers friends all about it and get them to come and sub to the channel. Thank you so much, guys. We'll be back to speak to you again. Obviously, on May the 17th, Victoria and I'll be back, and I'll be back every single day bringing you Rangers news, views, and updates. Good night to everyone, and let's just finish off with we'll finish off like I said. We are the people.